The scorching sun hung high in the sky as Adaeze carried a basket of vegetables on her head. Her feet shuffled through the dusty road that led back to her small family home in the village of Umudike. She had spent the entire morning at the market selling goods to support her family and her boyfriend, Chukwudi, who was struggling to find his feet in life. Chukwudi sat on a wooden stool outside Adaeze's compound, staring blankly at the ground. His once cheerful face was now clouded with frustration. He was a man with big dreams, but they felt so far away. Chukwudi, Adaeze called as she approached, setting the basket down. Have you eaten today? She asked. He shook his head. Ada, I couldn't even afford Gary. I don't know how much longer I can keep living like this. Adaeze knelt beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder. Don't say that, things will get better. I believe in you. But how? He asked. The landlord is threatening to throw me out and I've applied for jobs with no luck, Chukwudi said, his voice cracking. Adaeze took a deep breath. She knew what she had to do. I will help you, Chukwudi, she said. I have some money saved from my market sales. You can use it to pay your rent and start something small. Chukwudi's eyes widening in disbelief. Ada, I can't let you do that. That money is for your education. School can wait, Adaeze said firmly. Right now, you need it more. Chukwudi grabbed her hands, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, Ada. I swear I will make it one day and I will never forget everything you've done for me. Adaeze smiled, though her heart felt heavy. She didn't care about the sacrifices as long as Chukwudi was happy. Months later, Chukwudi's life began to change. With the money Adaeze gave him, he started a small poultry business. Adaeze worked tirelessly to support him, often skipping meals to ensure he had enough to invest in his farm. Her friends, however, were not so supportive. Are you mad, Adaeze? Her best friend Nkechi asked during one of their chats under the mango tree. You've given this man everything, and what has he given you in return? Nkechi, you don't understand, Adaeze replied, shaking her head. Chukwudi loves me. He's just going through a hard time. When he succeeds, we'll both enjoy the fruits of his labor. Nkechi scoffed. I hope you're right, but don't say I didn't warn you. Despite Nkechi's warnings, Adaeze remained steadfast in her support. She even sold her late mother's jewelry to buy medicine when Chukwudi's chicken fell sick. You are a blessing, Ada, Chukwudi said one evening, holding her close. I don't know what I would do without you. Adaeze felt her heart swell with pride. She believed in Chukwudi's dream as much as he did. A year later, Chukwudi's poultry business flourished. He began making enough money to move out of the village to expand his operation in Lagos. Adaeze was overjoyed for him, though she felt a pang of sadness knowing he would be far away. Don't worry, Ada, Chukwudi assured her as he stood by the bus that would take him to the city. Once I'm settled, I will come back for you. We'll get married and build a life together. I trust you, Chukwudi, Adaeze said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Don't forget me. How could I ever forget you? He said, smiling. But as the months passed, Adaeze began to feel forgotten. Chukwudi's calls became less frequent, and when she tried to reach him, he always seems too busy. Maybe he's just working hard, Adaeze told herself, ignoring the growing unease in her heart. Then one day, she overheard a neighbor gossiping in the market. I heard Chukwudi has a new woman in Lagos, the woman said, a rich, flashy woman. Adaeze's heart sank. Could it be true? Adaeze's heart raised as she hurried back to her family compound. The gossip from the market replaying in her mind, she tried to dismiss it, but the doubt ground at her like a persistent itch. Could Chukwudi truly betray her after all she had done for him? The next morning, she decided to confront him. She borrowed money from Nkechi to travel to Lagos. Nkechi, skeptical as ever, questioned her decision. Adaeze, are you sure this is wise? What if the rumors are true? Then I will see it with my own eyes, Adaeze replied firmly. I deserve the truth. With that, she boarded the rickety bus that would take her to Lagos, clutching a small bag of her belongings. The city was overwhelming. The noise, the crowds, the towering buildings, all of it felt foreign to Adaeze. She clutched Chukwudi's address tightly in her hand, navigating her way through the bustling streets. When she finally arrived at his house, her heart pounded in her chest. The compound was large and well kept, a stark contrast to the humble beginning she had known with Chukwudi. She knocked on the door and it swung open to reveal a stunning woman dressed in a silk robe. The woman's expression turned from curiosity to irritation. Yes, who are you? I'm Adaeze, she stammered. I'm looking for Chukwudi. The woman smirked, leaning against the door frame. Chukwudi is busy. What do you want from him? Before Adaeze could respond, Chukwudi appeared, his expression freezing when he saw her. Ada, he said, stepping outside quickly. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? Adaeze repeated, her voice trembling. I came to see you. Why haven't you been answering my calls? Who is this woman? The woman laughed, tossing her hair. I am Amara, his fiancée. Who are you? Adaeze felt like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. She turned to Chukwudi, tears streaming down her face. Fiancé? Chukwudi, after everything I have done for you. Ada, I can explain, he said, avoiding her gaze. It's not what it looks like. Not what it looks like, she cried. I gave up my education for you. I sold my mother's jewelry, and now you are here with another woman. Amara crossed her arm, looking bored. Chukwudi, are you going to deal with this or not? Go inside, Amara, he said sharply, then turned back to Adaeze. Look, Ada, you are a good person, but I've changed. My life is different now. I need someone who fits into this new life. Adaeze stared at him in disbelief. So, I was good enough when you had nothing, but now I'm not. Chukwudi sighed. It's not like that, Ada. It's exactly like that, she said, her voice breaking. You are a coward, Chukwudi, a selfish, ungrateful coward. She turned and walked away, her vision blurred by tears. Back in the village, Adaeze threw herself into work with Nkechi's help. She started a small fabric business in the market. She refused to let Chukwudi's betrayal break her, even though the pain lingered like a wound that wouldn't heal. One day, you will thank yourself for walking away, Nkechi said as they arranged the colorful fabric on a wooden table. I just want to forget him, Adaeze replied, her voice weary. But forgetting Chukwudi wasn't so easy. His name came up often in the village, usually accompanied by story of his newfound wealth and connection in Lagos. Adaeze tried to block it out, focusing instead on building her own sources. Months later, Chukwudi's world began to crumble. His business suffered a major setback when a fire destroyed one of his poultry farms. On top of that, Amara left him after draining his finances and running off with another wealthy man. Desperate and broken, Chukwudi returned to the village, hoping to find solace in the familiarity of home. But the village had changed in his absence. People whispered about his downfall, and many, including Nkechi, avoided him altogether. One evening, Chukwudi woke up the courage to visit Adaeze. He found her sitting outside her compound, sewing a vibrant Ankara piece of fabric under the dim light of a lantern. Ada, he called softly. She looked up, her expression unreadable. What are you doing here? I came to apologize, he said, kneeling before her. I was wrong. I was blinded by greed and pride. You were the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I threw it all away. Adaeze set the fabric aside, studying him in silence. Do you know how many nights I cried because of you? How much pain you caused me? I know, he said, his voice breaking, and I will never forgive myself for it. But please, give me another chance. I've changed. Adaeze laughed bitterly. Changed? Chukwudi, you haven't changed. You're just desperate because Amara left you. He hung his head, tears streaming down his face. You are right, but I swear, Ada, I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me. Adaeze stood, her eyes cold. I don't need you to make anything up to me. I have moved on. I found strength in myself, and I won't let you take that away from me. With that, she walked away, leaving Chukwudi kneeling in the dust, the weight of his mistake crushing him. Adaeze woke up to the sound of rain drumming on the sink of her father's compound. The early morning air was cold, and the scent of wet earth filled her nostrils. She wrapped a shawl tightly around her shoulders and sat by the window, watching the rain cascade in sheets. She felt a familiar ache in her chest, a mixture of heartbreak and betrayal that lingered despite her determination to move on. She thought about Chukwudi's visit the night before. His tearful apology replayed in her mind, but instead of soothing her, it stirred a whirlwind of emotion. Could she truly let go of the man who had once been her entire world? Or had his betrayal closed the doors of forgiveness forever? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps on the muddy path outside. She turned to see Nkechi entering the compound, a colorful umbrella dripping with rainwater. Adaeze, Nkechi called, shaking the water from her umbrella as she stepped into the veranda. Are you up? I brought something for you. Adaeze opened the door, managing a faint smile. Good morning, Nkechi. What's this? Nkechi handed her a bundle wrapped in brown paper. Just some fresh akara from the market. I thought you could use some comfort food. Adaeze eyes softening. Thank you, Nkechi. You are always so thoughtful. As they sat together, Adaeze finally spoke about what had been weighing on her. Nkechi, do you think I made the right decision yesterday, sending Chukwudi away like that? Nkechi gave her a knowing look. Ada, you've given that man more chances than he deserves. He's only sorry now because he's hit rock bottom. If Amara hadn't left him, do you think he would be here begging for your forgiveness? Adaeze sighed, staring at the rain. I love him so much, Nkechi, and a part of me still does. Nkechi placed a hand on her friend's shoulder. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to let them hurt you again. You've grown so much, Ada. Don't let him pull you back into his mess. Later that evening, as the rain subsided, Adaeze found herself wandering through the village. Her feet carried her to the old mango tree where she and Chukwudi used to sit and dream about their future. The memories came rushing back, each one a bittersweet reminder of what they had lost. Suddenly, she heard the faint sound of someone crying. She followed the sound and found Chukwudi, sitting under the tree, his head buried in his hands. His clothes were soaked, and his shoulders shook with silent sobs. Chukwudi, she called softly. He looked up, his eyes red and swollen. Ada, he whispered, his voice hoarse. I don't think you will come here. She hesitated, but eventually sat down on the bench beside him. For a moment, they were both silent, the only sound the gentle dripping of water from the tree leaves. You are still here, she said finally, her voice steady but filled with emotions. I don't know where else to go, he admitted. This tree, it reminds me of the only time in my life when I felt truly happy, when I had you. Adaeze throat tightening, but she refused to let herself cry. Why, Chukwudi? Why did you throw it all away? I gave you everything and you didn't even look back. I was stupid, he said, his voice trembling. I thought success meant leaving everything behind, including the people who mattered most. Amara dazzled me with her money and connection, and I forget the one person who stood by me when I had nothing. Adaeze turned to him, her eyes filled with both pain and anger. Do you know how humiliating it was for me to find out about her? To stand in front of your fancy house and be told by another woman that you were hers. Chukwudi, you broke me. I know, he said, tears streaming down his face, and I will never forgive myself for it. But Ada, I swear I have changed. I have lost everything and now I see what truly matters. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging you to give me a chance to make things right. Adaeze stared at him, her heart wagging a wall between love and self-respect. The next day, Adaeze tried to focus on her fabric business, but her encounter with Chukwudi weighed heavily on her mind. Nkechi noticed her distracted state and decided to comfort her. You saw him again, didn't you? Nkechi asked as they arranged fabric at the market store. Adaeze nodded reluctantly. He was at the mango tree last night, we talked. Nkechi frowned. And now you are confused again. Ada, don't let him manipulate you. He's only here because he has nowhere else to go. I know that, Adaeze said, her voice tinged with frustration. But seeing him like that, so broken, it's hard to just turn my back. Nkechi sighed, placing a hand on her hip. Adaeze, you have the biggest heart I have ever seen, but sometimes that heart of yours gets in the way of your common sense. Think about everything you've been through because of him. Do you really want to go down that road again? Adaeze didn't respond. She spent the rest of the day lost in thought, torn between her lingering love for Chukwudi and the painful memories of his betrayal. That evening, as she closed up her store, she noticed a young boy running towards her with a folded note in his hand. This is for you, the boy said, breathlessly, before running off. Adaeze unfolded the note and read the shanky handwriting. Meet me under the mango tree tonight, please. Her heart sank. She knew it was from Chukwudi, but she wasn't sure if she had the strength to face him again. That night, the moon hung high, casting an air glow over the village. Adaeze stood in front of the old mango tree, her heart pounding in her chest. The wind rustled through the leaves above her, and the night felt unusually still. Chukwudi had asked her to meet him here again, but something felt different this time. Her hands trembled as she clutched the notes he had sent. She had spent the entire evening debating whether she should come. Her mind told her to stay away to protect herself from the pain of another betrayer, but her heart was still torn. Was he truly sorry? Had he really changed? The shadows around her seemed to stretch longer as the night deepened. The tree stood silent, its branches swaying gently, as if waiting for something. Adaeze took a deep breath and stepped closer, her footsteps soft against the damp earth. Chukwudi, she called softly, her voice barely a whisper. For a moment there was no reply. The air seemed to hold his breath. Then, out of the shadows, Chukwudi emerged. His face was drawn and pale, his eyes wide with something unreadable. He stepped forward slowly, his every movement tense. Ada, he said, his voice shaking. I'm so sorry. I know you've had so many lies and I didn't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to tell you something. Adaeze felt a chill run through her. Something was wrong. The way he was speaking, the urgency in his eyes, it didn't feel like the Chukwudi she once knew. What is it, Chukwudi? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He swallowed hard, his gaze darting around nervously, as if he were afraid someone might be listening. "I didn't come here just to apologize," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "There's something I've been keeping from you, something I never meant to drag you into, but now I have no choice." Adaeze took a step back, the hairs on the back of her neck standing up. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her heart racing. Chukwudi looked over his shoulder once more, then stepped closer to her. His breath was shallow, his words barely audible. "It's about Amara and the business. You are not going to believe this, but she's not what she says she is. The truth is, Ada, she's dangerous, and I've been involved in something I can't get out of. They are after me, and now they are after you too." Adaeze eyes widening. "What do you mean? Who is after me?" Before he could answer, a loud crash echoed through the night, followed by the stretch of tires. Adaeze heart skipped a beat. Chukwudi's eyes went wide in panic, and he grabbed her arm tightly. "We need to leave now," he shouted, pulling her towards the bush. The sound of footsteps grew louder as shadow moved swiftly through the night. The air seemed to grow thick, the tension palpable as they crouched behind the tree, watching in fear. Adaeze's mind raced. What had Chukwudi gotten himself into? Who were these people? Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence, deep and cold, yet familiar. "Chukwudi, I know you are out here. You can't run from this. It's too late." Adaeze's breath caught in her throat. The voice wasn't just familiar, it was chilling. "Who is that?" she whispered, her body trembling with fear. Chukwudi's face turned pale as he looked around, his eye wide with terror. "We have to go, Ada. We can't stay here." But before they could move, a dark figure stepped into the clearing. A tall man dressed in black with a cruel smile on his face. "Looking for someone?" the man asked, his voice dripping with malice. Chukwudi pushed Adaeze to the ground, shielding her with his body. "Run, Ada! Don't look back!" But before she could even make sense of what was happening, everything went dark.